special episode of not the gymnasium tonight. It is the college football tailgate. As always, it's me, XFL Jim.
Let's fucking go!
It's the vibe I have right now, previewing the biggest conference, the Big Ten. As always, I am joined by the one, the only Chase, Lupine Fiasco Sessoms, a.k.a. the Wolf of Oaklawn.
Ooh. Ooh. Oh, yes!
I don't bring that one out as much.
No, it's not, but it's titillating. It's scintillating. It's all of the latings.
It's a very elating feeling. Shout out NASCAR. Chase with the W pose, always. Chase, the Big Ten is here for us. 18 teams. 18 teams, baby.
And they took the cream of the crop of other conferences to make the 18. So I think, maybe we're in for a Big Ten season with a whole bunch of pandemonium. There's all sorts of things. There's coaching changes. There's big transfers. There's a team that looks stacked. There's NCAA, suspensions and shit going on. So it'll be, I think, a really interesting Big Ten. And how could it not be when you have half of the country in it?
There's a lot of fun schools. There's a lot of schools that I'm actually quite interested in this year. I'm excited to see how the new teams blend. I'm intrigued. I believe there's one team in particular you and me are both quite high on. This that we've talked about in previous weeks. We'll let the people figure out what that is. The weird thing, though, with the Big Ten, and since I was writing down my notes and everything, we're going to start alphabetical order. Do you know the first team in the Big Ten alphabetically?
You have to go to the I's. It's Illinois,
yeah, it's
isn't it?
Illinois.
That's interesting. I'll say that. What do we think of Illinois? Like, do we think that this is probably like the last year, like we've run our Burt cycle?
I don't know if we've run. I think this is maybe the year before the last year. This is like probably make a bowl game or Burt or the seat gets warm, Burt. Because, Illinois hasn't been good.
That's true. It's not like he took them down a level or anything.
No, I mean, what was it, 2 years ago? They won, how many games did they win 2 years ago? 8-5, just 2 years ago.
That's about as good as you can expect out of a Burt, I think.
And I think they're very schedule dependent. Obviously, when we talk about the Big Ten teams, the teams that were in the West, they get the worst of the bump from the no divisions anymore. The teams in the East get the biggest benefit of there not being divisions anymore.
Right.
Illinois, they don't get off with an easy schedule, I'll tell you that.
Here's a good question from Jeff. Why not go to an even 20 teams and just call it the Big 20?
That'd be awesome.
I don't know.
I think
at this point,
I think no matter how many teams they could have 700 teams. They could have the entirety of FBS. The Big Ten could absorb them. It would still be called the Big Ten.
they're gonna have to do some sort of like logo gymnastics to try to figure out how to make that 2 look like a 1 in their Big Ten logo.
They'd find a way. They'll
find a way.
Yeah. Illinois, so they returned 5 on offense, 4 on defense. Burt's obviously, so I'm just going to flat out say this. Erik's not here. We don't have all the in-depth research and stats that Erik can give you. But we will give you our takes, and we have done some. And I've read up on these teams. I think Burt's he's a year away from being on the hot seat.
So do you think this team trends up or trends down?
I think trends down. I think they've trended down ever since they lost their DC.
Okay.
I think that
so
was a big part of what made Illinois so good. This team doesn't really right now, I don't feel like they have an identity.
Whereas it should be put 10 offensive linemen out there and pound the rock.
It should be like classic late 2000s, early 2010s Wisconsin ball.
I think so too. I think that's the only way that they're really successful.
And with play a couple years ago, they were playing really good defense. They lose their DC, all of a sudden, not so good. That's a big portion of it. Let's get into the schedule, Chase. Oh, sorry. 200. I'm off my rocker. 200-1 plus 20,000 to win the Big Ten. Win total is 5.5 plus 110 on the over, minus 130 on the under. Let's just jump into the schedule. Eastern Illinois, Kansas, Central Michigan for homecoming, at Nebraska, at Penn State.
I want to be generous and say it's 3-2 to start. That Kansas game is a little bit more of a toss-up than I'm giving it credit for. But at the same time, we talked about this. Like, Kansas has been just up and up and up 3 straight years of up performance. Like, are they due for a down performance? And if they are, do we tell early with this Illinois game?
I think we can tell the story of where each team is, because what was it last year in Kansas? They lost by 11. So if we think Kansas takes a small step forward, this is a good stepping stone game. I don't really like Luke Altmaier as a quarterback for Illinois, but this will be a very good test. If they can go 3-2 in this stretch, maybe a good season. But in between your bye weeks, you got Purdue at home, Michigan at Oregon, and Minnesota.
I'll say 2-2 in that stretch.
I give them 1 win there. I give them Purdue.
Purdue.
I give them Purdue.
I guess that kind of tips your hand as to what you think of Minnesota.
Yes, it does.
Okay.
Spoiler, yes.
You know what? I'm with you. I'm going to give them. I've got them at 4 wins right now, including the Purdue win.
And then after the second bye week, it's Michigan State at home, at Rutgers, and Northwestern. If I'm being super generous, I give them 2. I just gave them 1. When I was writing my notes, I had a lot of question marks and not a lot of guaranteed wins.
I'll give them 2 in that final stretch and puts them bowling at 6-6. And then I have them made with just a super disappointing loss in the bowl game where they're probably up by 20 and still lose.
I think 6 is their ceiling, personally, this season. I'm going under 5.5.
You're going under. I'm gonna take.
Can't recommend it. You're gonna take the over.
I'm gonna take the over 5.5 at plus 120.
I can dig it. I can respect it. I think 6 is their ceiling, and I don't know if Burt hits it.
That's fair.
Up next, Chase, we have the Indiana Hoosiers, again, plus 20,000, 200 to 1 to win the Big Ten. Win total also set at 5.5, minus 140 on the over, plus 120 on the under. It's hard to judge this team because so much new is coming in. Kirk Cignetti from JMU brings in so much from JMU, and they get Mac All-Star, also Canadian legend, Curtis Rourke. If he's 100%, this team might have a very feisty offense.
We'll see.
I think Indiana will not be good, but I think they're going to be scary
spread coverers.
Yeah.
You think they're spread covering type team?
I think they're a spread covering type team, and I think depending on the spot, they might be able to get somebody.
Well, I'm not sure if they're. I think that they might even have a tough game in their opener against FIU. You know, it's. I don't know. I don't think that if JMU had won the Sun Belt going away, and was undefeated and was a team like Liberty last year, that I'd say, maybe sure, all these people from JMU coming over makes an instant impact at Indiana, but I'm kind of afraid that they're bringing knives to gunfights sort of thing. They just maybe don't have the talent even with all the JMU players.
That's fair. That is a valid worry. I'm decent on Indiana just based on the fact that I think they get somebody. There are 2 teams that I call gettable for them that I think would surprise people. 1, just surprise a little bit. 2, maybe surprise a lot, that I think they can jump up and potentially get somebody. You ready to get into this schedule?
Let's go.
Start the season off FIU, Western Illinois, at UCLA, Charlotte, Maryland, at Northwestern.
I'm giving them 2 wins in that stretch.
I'll give them 3.
What are your 3?
FIU,
Charlotte,
Western Illinois, Charlotte. They win out of conference. I think Northwestern's gettable too.
I'm giving them Western Illinois and Charlotte. I'm disrespecting Biff Poggi, but I'm respecting the airport.
Also, to be fair, I have no idea what UCLA will look like, but I
True.
think going to UCLA, I got to give it to the Bruins.
Yeah, I was with you at that.
Then in between the bye weeks, it's Nebraska, Washington, at Michigan State, and Michigan. I give them 1.
If I'm generous, I give them 1.
I
I'll
think
be
between
generous.
Nebraska, Washington, and Michigan State, they get one of them.
I think it's probably, well, it could be Michigan State. We'll
I think
see.
it's Michigan State. I think as much as I feel like we love Jonathan Smith, they are rebuilding so much.
Yeah.
And then off the second bye week, it's at Ohio State and then Purdue at home.
Rivalry game against Purdue. They get them at home. I'll say win there. I've got them sitting at 4 wins.
I got them right at 5. I'm going to say they scare Ohio State for a quarter, maybe a half.
Look at that. I've got another play there. Under 5.5 plus 120 for Indiana.
I took the over. For Indiana. I think they could get Michigan State. I think they could definitely get Washington. I'm right there on the number. I liked it. I took the over for Indiana. Is this 2 that we're disagreeing 2 for 2 so far?
2 for 2. We usually we end up right about the same number, but no, not this time.
I like this. Chase, up next. It is the Iowa Hawkeyes. Plus 3,500 to win the Big Ten. Win total is set at a flat 8 over at DraftKings. Minus 135 to the over. Plus 115 to the under. I mean, what can we say about Iowa? They returned so many on defense. I don't care that Cooper DeJean and some other studs are gone. They reload on defense. I trust Iowa's defense. I trust Iowa's all-world punter.
Yeah, you have to replace all-world punter. You have to make sure that your kicker is up to snuff. I think that the loss of Cooper DeJean isn't a huge thing because that defense played salty pretty much all season last year without Cooper DeJean. So that's not, that's like an asterisk. It's not really like something that you tally up there. I really like this team to make a sneaky run towards a national championship. The question is, can the defense stay at the exact same level as they were last year? Which I think the answer is yes. And can the offense just raise their game half a notch to a full notch? And if so I think you have a very dangerous team.
The offense was ranked in like the 120s last year.
Yeah.
I think I'm not going to go as far as national championship or anything like that. But I think if they can get like a top 60 offense, we're talking playoffs.
We're definitely talking playoffs, and we're talking dark horse to win the Big Ten.
We're talking very dark. Yes, we're talking dark horse. Like, this defense will be fantastic. I just don't know. I don't like the running back situation they have going on. It's I'm not in love with it. And then what do we like? Cade McNamara can't be worse than what they've had.
No, did he get injured last year?
He got hurt like right away.
That's right, and that's how they ended up with. Yeah. I got to think Cade McNamara is somehow better. I think by benefit of scheme, the fact
Tim Lester coming in,
yeah, with Tim Lester coming in, the scheme has got to be different, and I think that's a lot of what was going against Iowa last year was that it was just dog shit play calling on offense.
It was that, and it's just like it's been like a downward mentality. They haven't really had what I consider a decent to fun offense since 2019.
Probably, yeah. And then it was probably still extremely vanilla.
It was fun though, and they were winning. Yeah. They won a bunch.
Yeah.
And I think this is the team I was talking about earlier. That we agree a lot on this one. So let's get to the schedule. Illinois State, Iowa for the Cyhawk series, Troy at Minnesota.
Got 4-0.
4-0, baby. That at Minnesota might be a little tricky. Minnesota seems to have their number for some reason, but I got them 4-0. Off the bye, it's at Ohio State, Washington at Michigan State, Northwestern at home for homecoming, Wisconsin at UCLA.
Can I dream for a minute, Jim?
Stretch.
Can I
dream? 5-1, Chase.
5-1.
Chase, that is also my dream. Maybe. Hey, do you know when they get Ohio State? By the way,
right after the bye.
So they get Ohio State right after the bye. Do you know who Ohio State has on deck? Oregon.
Ooh.
Come on! Come
That's what I'm
on!
talking about.
Iowa, baby!
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about right there.
5-1, and then off the bye week, it's at Maryland, Nebraska at home, 2-0. This team is going 11-1.
Yeah, I'm with you. 11-1 there. Too bad that the over is juiced to -150 set at 8. So I can't play that, but I can play
Plus
if I
650
get in.
to make the playoffs, baby.
Yep, let's go. NCAA futures. Let's go. Conference futures. I'm gonna pull the trigger on Iowa here.
I might
to win the
sprinkle it
conference.
35-1.
They're 20-1 to win the Big Ten.
Dude, Chase, I see him at 35-1.
You should take that price, I think. I think you should take that price immediately.
I'm going to go in on Iowa. I got him plus 650 to make the playoffs. If I could see a price to make the Big Ten championship, we'll also take that. The issue that I have is if they do make the championship game, more likely than not, they'll probably have to just beat Ohio State twice. Or
that's true.
Lose to them the first time and beat them in the championship game.
I kind of had them, even with how they fall in the schedule, I have them losing to Ohio State in that game. But still, like I think there's plenty of places for teams to stumble, and it might be a more than one loss team in the Big Ten championship game.
There's a very real shot that Iowa could be like 9-3, 10-2. Like they could lose. Oh, because depending. Like if there's a theory. Guess what? If the offense doesn't improve, a lot of these games become losable now. Wisconsin all of a sudden becomes losable. I'm pretty sure they lost to. Did they lose to Northwestern last year? No, barely. They beat them in overtime. Like. We are basing this off of the fact that the defense remains the same and offense improves somewhat. It has to.
It has to.
I got them 10-2 at worst. This team's going to be good.
I agree.
Can you imagine a home playoff game for Iowa in December?
Dude, you know how that would be so dirty. That would be, dude, it's so cold. It is so cold.
It's so cold. It is so cold up here.
Ridiculously cold.
Up next, Chase, we have the Maryland Terrapins plus 10,100-1 to win the Big Ten. Win total is set at 6.5, plus 100 on the over, minus 130 on the under. The big question for Maryland, because they've recruited really well under Loxley, what are they going to do at quarterback without Talia Tagovailoa?
That's a good question. I don't know. Who do they have as the quarterback now?
They got a couple guys in there. They got Cameron Edge. They got Billy Edwards. Couple guys they brought in. I don't know, man. They have weapons at receiver. They have a good running game. It all comes down to, like, if the quarterback situation clicks, this team could be pretty good. They're one of the teams I talked about that benefits from not having to guarantee play Michigan and Ohio State and Penn State. Because guess what? They miss Michigan and Ohio State this year.
And in lieu of those teams, they get teams in the non-conference like UConn, Villanova, Virginia.
Yeah.
They've got a pretty good schedule where if they can just rack up enough wins in September and October, which has been a struggle in October, but if they can rack up enough wins in October, then I think that's a team that's bowl eligible and can maybe bordering 7 to 8 wins. We'll see when we go through the schedule, though.
They went 8-5 last year, so they're feisty, and if the quarterback situation works out, I think Maryland's going to be a very interesting and fun team to watch. So they start the season off: UConn, Michigan State, at Virginia, Villanova, at Indiana. I'm just going to say it. It's September, Maryland. I've got them going 5-0.
5-0. 5-0.
If the national championship took place September 21st, Maryland would be the best dynasty on the planet.
That's about right.
The buys, it's Northwestern, USC for homecoming, at Minnesota.
I'm going to be generous and say 2-1 here. I think maybe they get either Northwestern and Minnesota, or they get Northwestern and USC.
I'm going to be a little bit more conservative, give them 1 and 2 here. They very easily could get USC, because I think that's got to be the farthest trip, right?
It's got to be. Yeah, because New Jersey to Southern California.
It's Maryland.
Oh, sorry, Maryland,
Yeah.
which might as well be New Jersey.
Basically.
Let's say that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're looking at this basically.
Yeah,
from
it's
here to
got to be
here.
the farthest trip.
Got to be the farthest trip.
Off the second bye, it's at Oregon, Rutgers, Iowa, at Penn State. That's where that November sucks.
I give them one win there, which puts them at 8 wins.
I give them 0 wins there. I got them at either 6-6 or 7-5. With the win total set exactly at 6.5. I dabbled. I went with the over.
I'm taking the over as well because I can get the over plus 125.
Yep, that's basically what I did too. I was like, I have them at 6. I think they could get one of them because I think they go 5-0 at the start. They only need to get 2 wins out of Northwestern, USC, Minnesota, and Rutgers.
If they break that September Maryland trend and can win those games in between their buys, then I think you've got a team that, racked them up early and is going to end up in a decent bowl game just based off of the very beginning of the season.
Yeah, they'll be in a decent bowl game, but they'll have like anti-momentum because they'll be on a 4-game losing streak.
Right, yeah, that sounds about right.
Welcome to Maryland season every season. Up next, we have the Michigan Panthers. Sorry, Michigan
Wolverines.
Yeah, I'm on spring brain. Michigan Wolverines plus 700 to win the conference. Win total set at a flat 9, plus 115 on the over, minus 135 on the under. They reload a lot. They replace a lot, but this might be a little much. They have to replace a ton on offense, including star quarterback J.J. McCarthy. Jim Harbaugh is gone. The defense will be good.
The defense will be good. Blake Corum, gone.
I think Donovan Edwards will be good, though. I think Donovan Edwards stand-in for Corum will be really good.
I mean, I think it'll be good, but he just won't be Blake Corum. I think that they sneakily have a tough off, non-conference schedule because they've got a couple of our G5 darlings on here that I think they'll actually end up having to battle against.
I think so too. It's nice to get them at home and make them travel, but this is not an easy schedule for Michigan reloading what they have to reload. The things I think about with Michigan this year, I will trust the defense till kingdom come. The defense is going to be good to great. Again, they'll reload. They lost a lot, they'll still reload. Offense, though, not only did they lose Blake Corum, J.J. McCarthy, they lost like a couple receivers too. And the offensive line, this is going to be an interesting offensive year. It's all on the offensive line. They're probably going to do a lot of what they did last year where they just try to run it down people's throat and not pass as much as possible. I don't really love Alex Orji that much, so to that.
Yeah.
Getting into the schedule. Fresno State, Texas, Arkansas State, USC, Minnesota, at Washington. The good part of their schedule, guess what? In September, you're playing one away game.
I can see them winning. I'm going to say, I want to say 4-2, but I feel like 5-1 is way more likely.
I think 5-1 is more likely there. I think one of Texas or USC might be able to get them.
Yeah. I think it's likely Texas.
I think it's also likely Texas. In between the byes, it's at Illinois, Michigan State, Oregon, at Indiana. I gave them one loss there.
3-1 also. Yeah.
And then it's Northwestern at Ohio State.
1-1.
1-1. I have them at 9-3 on the dot.
Same here.
So now, do you think they can get one of Texas, Oregon, or Ohio State this year?
Do I think they can get one of those?
Because if you think they can, then you take the over. If not, you got to be on the under. If you're getting a flat 9.
I mean, I would need to make this a plus money play that I would be on it to play. It would have to be the under 8.5 at plus 120. So I would need them to magically pull out another loss from that. And I'm not sure that they do it. I like you said, they've got
floor's too
championship
high.
pedigree. They didn't lose a ton whenever Harbaugh left because they're like a cult, a gross, disgusting cult.
I just think their floor's too high.
I think their floor is way too high. Also, I think we might have even forced a couple L's there, and they could easily 9-3. They could go anywhere from 9-3 to 11-1.
And that's why I took the over. I took over 9 at plus 115. Erik is on the under here.
I would play the under. I don't know. I think that, the question of like how much bullshit is too much bullshit is the same thing that we have going into it. Now we don't have the same fearless leader. So I'm going to stay away from any action on Michigan whatsoever.
Chase, that's the best way to get to him is just ignore him.
Not bet them in any futures.
Up next, we have Erik's Michigan State Spartans plus 20,000, 200 to 1 to win the Big Ten with a win total set at a flat 5. Over plus 115 on the over, minus 135 on the under. The Spartans, boy, they got a lot to clean up and a lot to change because Jonathan Smith took a lot from Oregon State, namely Aiden Childs, the quarterback, who I like. He's got some good upside. I think Michigan State's a year away from being interesting.
I agree. That cupboard was pretty well bare by the time Midnight Mel got fired. Like they really don't have. I don't think that they really had very much left. So I mean, even with the instant transfers, I'm with you. I don't think that it makes that much of a significant improvement right off the bat in year one.
Not to mention they also have to play Ohio State, Oregon, Iowa, and Michigan.
That's rough. That's tough.
That's tough.
That's tough right there.
They got kind of blown doing this schedule. And Maryland in September. Let's get to the schedule. Florida Atlantic coming to East Landing to start the season. Then it's at Maryland, Prairie View A&M, at Boston College, Ohio State, at Oregon.
I'll be generous and give them 3 there.
That Boston College is not a gimme.
No, it's not.
I'm gonna go. I gave him 2. I gave him 2 and 4 here. In between the byes, it's Iowa at home for homecoming, at Michigan, and then Indiana.
I'll give them the win at Indiana, though I don't think that's guaranteed.
I went 0-3 in that stretch. And then off the bye, it's at Illinois, Purdue, Rutgers at home.
I'll give them the win at Rutgers. That puts them at 5 for me.
I gave him the win with Purdue. That's got him at 1. I got him at 3 wins.
So you must be playing this under here.
I am taking the under. It's minus 135, so I can't recommend it, but I will be on it.
What's the total at?
A 5.
See, 4.5 will get you plus 125 on the under.
I'll take that. I'll take under 4.5, baby. Hell yeah. Up next, Chase, it is the Minnesota Golden Gophers. Plus 18,180 to 1 to win the Big Ten. Win total set at 5.5, plus 100 on the over. One thing I know about Minnesota this year, their defense will be fine, and I expect their run game to kind of bounce back from last year. But this defense is going to be good. They returned 8 starters on defense. They're mean.
You kind of tipped your hand. I feel like you're high on Minnesota this year.
I like this Minnesota.
Are you finally rowing the boat?
Yeah, I might be. Dude. I like this Minnesota team quite a bit. The issue that I found with their schedule when I was looking through it yesterday, there's a decent amount of like solid wins, but there's a lot of toss-up games. Like a lot of their schedules, like they could win it. I give them maybe like a 58 to 65% chance of winning some of these ones. Like at Rutgers isn't a gimme. At Wisconsin is always tough at the end of the year. Maryland's not easy. At UCLA,
yeah.
There's a lot up in the air, but I like what Minnesota has done. And like, how bad is what's the worst record PJ Fleck has had there?
I feel like
year,
it's
6-7.
Yeah, I feel like it's a 6-6, 6-7 sort of thing, but regular season 6-6.
I'm looking it up right now. So last year was 6-7. Other than that, dude, he gets like 9 wins a year. This is in the Big Ten West. But still, let's get to the schedule. North Carolina at home, Rhode Island, Nevada, Iowa, at Michigan, USC, at UCLA.
I think they start off 3-0, and then it's a rude awakening. I'll give them 3-3. Well, hold on. 1, 2,
I'll
3,
also
4, 5, 6, 7.
Yeah,
I'll give them 4-3. 4-3 in that stretch.
Yeah, I'll give them 4. I gave them 4-3 as well. In between the byes, it's Maryland at home, at Illinois, at Rutgers.
Am I crazy to say 3-0 there?
I went 2-1. The back-to-back for Illinois and Rutgers, that's kind of like a defensive, like, beat-you-up slugfest there.
Yeah. So 7-3.
Then off the bye, it's Penn State at home, at Wisconsin.
0-2. So I've got them at 7-5.
1-1, baby. I got him 7-5 as well.
Yeah, it's another don't
at 5.5. Give me the over plus 100.
There you go. From where I'm seeing, I got a juice to minus 115 on each side, so it's a don't touch for me. But at plus 100, I would touch it.
Up next, Chase, it is my Nebraska Cornhuskers plus 5,500 to win the Big Ten with a win total set at a 7.5, minus 125 on the over, plus 105 on the under. This one has been bothering me a ton. I think 7 is the number for this Nebraska team. I think they do go bowling. The schedule is quite favorable if you look at it. Obviously, I don't think we need Dylan Raiola to be a stud. He's like the big story. Great quarterback coming in. We just need him to be competent.
Right. I think it's encouraging that Vegas is this into you, basically. Because I mean, 7.5, and I've seen it juiced to minus 140.
Mm-hmm.
It's Matt Rule in year 2. Which,
Matt Rule year 2,
I mean,
we got a lot back from injury. We have a lot of offensive linemen returning. The defense should still be really, really good.
I'm going to let you tell me what their record is here. And whatever you say, I'm going with. That's what I want to see.
Okay, so we'll just say win or loss. We'll go game by game. UTEP, win. Colorado, at home, I'm going to say win. Northern Iowa, win. Illinois at home, win. At Purdue, win. Rutgers for homecoming will be a battle. But Nebraska, I believe, is like, that's one of the better, even in our darkest days, we were still able to beat Rutgers when Rutgers was doing decent. So that's a win. So 6-0 going into the bye week is what I have. Maybe 5-1.
Where are they ranked if they're 6-0?
That's kind of a cake schedule. 6-0.
Just outside the top 25?
No, they're probably in the top 25 because we were already receiving votes. So they're probably like 6-0, 17, 18, somewhere around there.
Okay.
And then after the bye week, it's at Indiana, which I'll give us the win for. So 7-0. And then we get crushed. We lose to Ohio State. Then we get UCLA at home. Probably that might be a double-decker loss, is my worry with that.
Right.
So I'll say in the first first 9, I give us 2 losses. Somewhere in there.
7-2, okay.
And then it's at USC, Wisconsin, at Iowa to end the season. I think we get one of them.
So 8-4?
8-4. I think 7-5, 8-4 is the number. 7 is probably more realistically the number. It's a tough latter half of the schedule. Like the last 5 games is kind of tough. But at the very least, we're going to go bowling, which something we haven't done since, I believe, 2016.
8-4 is a good season.
8-4 is a great season.
You've been bowling since then. I remember watching a bowl game since we've been friends.
Nebraska. I don't think we have.
I want to say in 21 or 22, you went to a bowl game.
Chase, Nebraska's last bowl game, 2016, the Music City Bowl.
Okay. I'm
we
wrong.
actually have the longest drought of any team in FBS, I believe.
Okay. That's sexy. Well, 8-4 should be celebrated then
Oh,
if,
dude,
at
I
that
will
point.
I will shout from the rooftops if we go 8-4. And like Iowa and Wisconsin will be close. Those are like those as good as we think Iowa will be. Iowa Nebraska is always a weird like close game.
Yeah.
So it'll be fun. I selfishly may have taken a little bet for Nebraska to make the playoffs.
Okay.
Hey, if somehow we beat, like, if Dylan Raiola is the truth,
Yeah.
I gotta bet him to win the Heisman.
I think so. If you think they're going to be that good, then you might as well.
If we are good, it's on his back. And yes, you know what? I'm gonna let me look up the odds right now for Dylan Raiola to win the Heisman. Chase, but while I do that, we have the Northwestern Wildcats plus 20,000, 200 to 1 to win the Big Ten. They are win total is set at 4.5, minus 120 on the over, plus 100 on the under. They had the magic of the interim last year. They came together through the turmoil.
They came together. They rallied around the interim. Now we take the interim tag off. Do we lose the magic now that that's happened, do you think?
I think he's a good coach, and I think they kind of found themselves on defense a little bit, with like they've been missing for a while. So I think they're still feisty. They're playing by like the water in Chicago.
Aren't they playing in like a park?
Yeah, they're playing in a weird like set up stadium.
Northwest Medicine at Martin Stadium in Evanston?
Yup.
Okay. Interesting.
They're playing in a weird spot. That's why I was saying we need Erik to like go scout it out for us. But it's a weird deal. I honestly don't know what to think of this Northwestern team. I feel like they come together. They have a really strong bond. But I just don't know. There's a lot of unknown with this team.
I would agree.
Into the schedule, Miami of Ohio at home, Duke, Eastern Illinois at Washington.
I'm going to give them a generous 3-1 there.
I also gave them a generous 3-1 in that stretch. In between the byes, it's Indiana at home, at Maryland, Wisconsin, at Iowa, at Purdue. That's a tough stretch for them.
2-3.
I'm going to give them 2 wins in that stretch too. And then off the bye, it's Ohio State at Wrigley, and then Michigan, and then Illinois.
At Wrigley. Got 2 games at Wrigley.
Oh yeah, that's at Wrigley too. Ugh.
God, I'll give them the win against Illinois.
I'll give them the win against Illinois as well. So I got them 1, 2. We got them at 5.
Yeah, it's not worth playing.
5 is tough. Their win total was, what was it, 4.5?
Yeah.
I want the over. I bet the over. Because as I said, I have to take everything. I got them at 5. It's juiced to minus 120. Don't love it. They could also beat Washington. Up next, Chase. It is the Ohio State Buckeyes. Plus 135. They are your favorite for the Big Ten. Win total is set at 10.5. Minus 150 on the over. Plus 125 on the under. This team returns so much. They returned so much. They just announced Will Howard, starting quarterback. Yeah, they lose Marvin Harrison Jr., but guess what? Emeke Ibuka and this whole wide receiver room is going to be still one of the best in the country.
Right. Right. I agree. They're pretty well loaded, as much as I hate to say it.
Defense.
They might be cream of the crop this year in terms of what we're looking at in college football, depending on what Georgia puts on the field. I think it's between them and Georgia, quite honestly.
I think so too. I think Ohio State's really going in on the natty or bust this year.
I agree.
And like they, at the very least, Day has to beat Michigan and probably win the Big Ten, or else he's very much on a hot seat.
I would also agree with that.
Which is, how quick do you think he gets snatched up? Like
Very
instantly?
quick. Instantly, unless he doesn't want to coach.
Yeah, true. Unless he doesn't want to coach, because what, he hasn't had worse than 10 wins.
Mm-mm. And his only losses are to teams that have won national championships.
Yep.
Got to win that natty though in Columbus.
It's true. It's true. You got to beat Michigan too. You can't have a losing streak against Michigan.
Yeah.
Also, we would be remiss. They bring in Chip Kelly for the offensive coordinator position.
Christ on a cracker. That's enough reason to dislike Ohio State. I've changed my entire tune on Ohio State,
But he's not coaching. He's
Kelly.
just play calling. That's all. He's just designing plays. I don't even think that defense is going to be so nasty though.
Yeah.
And also, their schedule is pretty damn cake.
That's true.
Akron, Western Michigan to start off your season before your first early bye.
2-0.
2-0. And then guess what? It's Marshall. Marshall at Michigan State, Iowa, and then at Oregon.
I want Oregon to jump up and surprise them. I have a feeling that they don't, though.
So this is kind of a Ryan Day in game-winning situations versus Dan Lanning in game-winning situations thing, where Dan Lanning, this will be one of the best games of the season. I am calling it right now, not going out on a limb saying that, but Dan Lanning will be hyper-aggressive, maybe to a fault, and Ohio State will get away with some like mistakes that Ryan Day might make in-game.
Yeah, that sounds about right. I completely agree.
So we got him 6-0 going into the second bye. Then it's Nebraska at home for homecoming, at Penn State, Purdue, Northwestern at Wrigley, Indiana, Michigan.
I'm just going to say it. I think they go undefeated through the regular season.
I made a bet at, I believe, like 4-1, 5-1 for Ohio State to go undefeated. There are only 3 chances, maybe 2.5 chances if we're being real, are Oregon, Penn State, and Michigan.
Iowa. I'll throw Iowa in the mix there.
Iowa's tough. Iowa's tough, especially before Oregon. Iowa's tough. I also give Indiana a shot to scare them for like a half. But like Michigan's reloading a ton. They're not the same team they've been. Penn State is Penn State. Until I see it, I won't believe it.
That's fair.
Oregon
Iowa always seems to have Ohio State's number for some reason.
True. That is true.
For a couple
Iowa
years
will
they
be a
did at
very
least.
Interesting game.
Yeah.
Iowa is one to watch out for.
But I think
I'm on the over. I'm on the over for Ohio State though.
Yeah,
I think I maybe even took over. I might have taken like perfect at like plus 300 or 350 or something. I forget off the top of my head. Up next, Chase, it is the Oregon Ducks plus 200 to win the Big Ten. Win total also set at 10.5 with a plus 100 on the over, minus 120 on the under. I think out of all the Pac-12 teams coming in, they have the best shot to get like right away and find themselves. This team's good. This team's like real good.
Yeah. You wonder how much they lost now. Seeing how Bo Nix is playing in the preseason NFL, you wonder how much they lose without Bo Nix.
I don't know if they lose that much.
You don't think so?
No, I mean, we're certified Bo Nix non-believers / haters here. We were for a while. He was really good last year. He was pretty good the year before. I think Dylan Gabriel can be just as good, if not better, in this system. I
keep forgetting it's Dylan Gabriel. How many times have we seen Dylan Gabriel go to a place where it's supposed to be high expectations and he just shits the bed? He
was not the reason Oklahoma hasn't been winning.
That's fair.
I'll say that.
I don't know. I feel like he's got the stink on him a little bit. Like,
did how many knees stink on him?
How many knees has Dylan Gabriel had reconstructed
fair.
At this point?
Fair. That's fair. I don't know. The offensive line for Oregon will be fantastic. The defense will be really good. What is it? People were saying he was building it like an SEC school.
They've got an easy schedule. I
They
mean,
do
if we're
have
looking at
they do
it,
have an easy ass schedule.
yeah.
Idaho, Boise State at Oregon State to start your season.
3-0.
That Oregon State game will be rocking though.
Yeah, Boise State will give them a little scare early, I think too.
I think so too. I have them 3-0 as well. In between the byes, it's at UCLA, Michigan State, Ohio State, at Purdue, Illinois, at Michigan, Maryland, at Wisconsin.
I'm going to say they win all of those. Or sorry, they lose one, Ohio State.
Yeah, I have them losing to Ohio State and then running the table. Maybe a trip up, but the way it breaks out, like home, on the road, back home, like maybe at Michigan's a little tricky, but I still think they win it. And then it's the bye week, and then it's Washington.
I think they only lose. They maybe be looking at 11-1 here.
Yeah, I got them 11-1, even potentially 12-0. I got
12-0 puts.
I got them. I took the over at plus 100.
Yeah, I'm not messing with that total.
Over 10.5 plus 100. One other team has the 10.5 win total, Chase. It is the Penn State Nittany Lions. Plus 500 to win the Big Ten with a win total of 10.5. Plus 140 on the over. Minus 165 on the under. I'm not going to say it's now or never for Penn State to win the Big Ten. It's now or never. If Penn State doesn't make the playoffs, James Franklin's on the hot seat.
Absolutely. I completely agree.
And I think they make the playoffs because this team the MO has been for the past 7-8 years, it feels like. They win all the games they should and just can't beat the Michigans and Ohio States of the world.
Yeah, but a 10-2 season puts you firmly in the Big Ten, firmly in the playoff at least.
I think so too, especially with I think the Big Ten and SEC probably get 3 apiece.
Yeah, I think that's probably fair.
So, yeah, I am high on Penn State. I'll also say Erik is very high on Penn State. His other bet for the conference is Penn State to win the Big Ten at plus 500. And in order to do that, they better be rounding these off at West Virginia, Bowling Green to start off the season.
I really want to give West Virginia the win there in the revenge spot because remember the first game of the season last year whenever Penn State ran up the score to cover the spread?
Yeah, that was awesome.
That was very awesome. I want to give West Virginia that game, but I'm not going to. I'm going to say they start off 2-0.
I just think Penn State has the defensive line and front to just impose will against teams like West Virginia that want to run the ball. In between the byes, it's Kent State, Illinois for homecoming, UCLA at USC. 4-0 there.
I think I'm going to give them the L at USC.
I think so.
That's a tough trip to make.
I think new offensive coordinator, Andy, I'm going to try this name, Chase. Andy Kotelnicki. I think this offense improves from last year. He has weapons. I think they can do it against USC, especially before the bye. And then it's at Wisconsin, Ohio State at home, Washington at Purdue, at Minnesota, Maryland.
I think this is a 10-2 football team.
I think this is a 10-2, potentially even 11-1 football team. Give me Penn State and the over 10.5 at plus 140. I can't believe I took the over on Oregon, Ohio State, and Penn State.
I can. No, just I've known you long enough that I can definitely believe.
If I had to pick one, I'm betting Penn State. It's plus 140, and I think this is the year. I think they kind of maybe cross over the hump.
Wasn't their quarterback a freshman last year too?
Yeah, was it Drew Aller? Yeah, he's a junior this year.
Aller.
Yeah.
So I mean, this is the put up or shut up year for Aller.
So the issue with Drew Aller is he's a little too safe with the ball, you know?
Yeah.
He threw barely any interceptions last year, but they just didn't ask him to do much, and he's going to need to do a little bit more. Can you remember the last time we've talked about a Penn State tight end? Or
I can't. The one just got one just got drafted high, I think, by the Raiders.
Yeah, but I just like. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, I know.
Fryermuth?
It's Lime. Was he Penn State?
Was he Iowa?
I think he was Iowa.
Was he Iowa? Was I stupid? No, he was Penn State.
He was Penn State. There you go. That was the last one. That was the last one we remember, Jim.
It was like him and Mike Gesicki are the only ones I remember.
Yeah.
Up next, Chase. What I am dubbing the upcoming worst team in the Big Ten this year. It is the Purdue Boilermakers. Plus 30,000 to win the Big Ten. 300 to 1. Win total at 4.5. Plus 135 on the over. Minus 160 on the under. Chase, we look for a team every year that we think will go winless. It's not gonna be Purdue. It's not gonna be Purdue.
It's not. They'll get one. They'll get at least one.
This is a tough schedule. They return a decent amount, but I just don't know. I don't think any of it's good. Like, they're missing Jeff Brom hard.
Yeah, they need Jeff Brom and they need a hot seat for this to be any good. But I think this is going to be a long, bad season for Purdue. If you had to make a bet that someone in the Big Ten would run the table backwards, I think this is the team you do it with.
I think so, because Indiana State to start the season, and then it's a long list of L's for me.
Same here.
And just to name a few, not only do they get Oregon in conference, Ohio State in conference, and Penn State, they're out of conferences Notre Dame.
Right. Right. They have to go to Oregon State too, which will be jumping.
I have them winning one game.
I think this is a 1-2 win football team. So
maybe they get somebody.
Yeah, maybe they get Indiana at the end of the season in a rivalry game or something like that.
Or like Michigan State or some random team.
Right. I think 1-2 is fair.
How awesome would it be if this was like one of those weird Purdue years where they just come up and upset Ohio State?
That would be pretty amazing.
God, that'd be so good. Up next, Chase, it is the Rutgers Scarlet Knights. Plus 12,120 to 1 to win the Big Ten. Win total sitting at 6.5. Minus 110 on the over, minus 110 on the under. They get Minnesota's old quarterback, the Greek Missile, Ethan Callie McManus, or whatever the fuck that Greek boy's name is. The one thing I want to tell you about Rutgers is this defense will beat you the hell up. They're playing some feisty football. 7-6 last year with a bowl win. They're another team that also super benefits from not having to play in the East anymore.
Yeah, they do. Absolutely. They've got a much more they do have a much more manageable schedule than because they managed to dodge Michigan, they managed to dodge Penn State, they managed to dodge Ohio State,
and
Oregon. They managed to they're tough at USC.
It's at you. So their toughest games are at USC, and that's it for the new ads. You want to just dive into the schedule head first? Because, spoiler alert, I like this Rutgers team quite a bit. The man, the myth, the legend, Kyle Monogany, he's a beast. Their running back is so good.
Yeah, he is.
They're going to be punch-you-in-the-mouth football, which I love to watch. Howard and then Akron to start your season off. 2-0 for Rutgers.
2-0.
Off the bye, it's at Virginia Tech, Washington, at Nebraska, Wisconsin, UCLA for homecoming, at USC.
I'll give them 3 wins in that stretch.
I'll give them 4. And then off the bye, it's Minnesota, at Maryland, Illinois, at Michigan State. 3-1.
Same here. So I got them at 8 wins.
I got them at 9. I have a 9-win Rutgers.
Whoo! Bullish is what people would call that. Yeah.
What is Rutgers ranked at 9 wins?
They gotta be. Just for posterity's sake, like you gotta rank them if they get to the 9-win threshold.
Just think about it though, Chase. Think about it. If Rutgers gets 10 wins,
that'd be
it's dual. It's not off the table.
With the schedule, I don't think it's off the table. I would agree.
Such an easy fucking schedule. What are we even doing here? Do they
For
have
some
any
reason-
preseason top 25 ranked teams on the schedule? None?
USC maybe.
Oh, USC. Yeah, USC's 23. That's it.
For some reason, BetOnline doesn't have Rutgers.
No, BetOnline doesn't. They do the same thing, and no like legal sports book does. So you got to go to like Bovada or Heritage. I don't know. BetOnline's doing the thing that like sports books in Jersey do, where they just don't have Rutgers on them. So like DraftKings
you
doesn't
can't-
let you do Rutgers.
Or so like kind of like Illinois books won't let you bet on Illinois teams. Yeah, gotcha.
But yeah,
I would be on the over.
I'm on the over. The issue with the over is it's minus 110 both ways at 6.5.
I am in hindsight not on the over then.
Yeah. If you give me an alternate of Rutgers over 7.5 at plus money, I'll take that.
Yeah.
Up next, Chase, we go to UCLA, the Bruins, plus 15,150 to 1 to win the Big Ten with a win total of a solid 5, plus 115 on the over, minus 135 on the under. This team loses a ton, namely Chip Kelly leaving in February.
Which is unfortunate because I think they're going to be bad, which is something that I would typically relish in because Chip Kelly was their coach. But now that Chip Kelly is gone, now I don't have that. Like, how dare he leave and ruin that for me?
Even when you have the shot to root against Chip Kelly and enjoy it, he has to take that from you.
Son of a bitch. The son of a bitch.
He's one of your, I'll say you have 3. He's one of your college football nemesis.
One of my nemesis.
Yeah.
It was Gus Malzahn, Chip Kelly, and
Jim Harbaugh.
Well,
yeah.
But he's gone now, so it's down to 2.
You're just down to 2. We had to find a third somewhere. We'll find one along the season.
Yeah. Okay.
This team's gonna not be good. Oh, Donnie's asking what's Chase's YouTube. Chase doesn't
Actually,
have a YouTube.
I don't have a YouTube yet. I'm gonna set one up eventually. I'm on all over the social medias though.
And we have his podcast linked in the description on the YouTube video if you're watching on YouTube.
Yep, if you're into the horses.
Let's get into the schedule for UCLA. Starting off, it's at Hawaii.
It's a W, even though I'd like to make that an L.
I will be betting Hawaii in that game. Probably on the money. That's a W though for UCLA. And then a week 2 bye week. That's rough.
That is rough.
Then it's Indiana at LSU, Oregon at Penn State, Minnesota at Rutgers. They also got no favors on this schedule.
I got 1 win in that stretch.
I'll give them 1. I don't even know if they get that, but I'll give them 1. I'll give them Indiana. And then off their other bye, it's at Nebraska, Iowa at home for homecoming, at Washington, USC, Fresno.
I think I've got a 1-win UCLA team.
I got 2. I might change my pick from Purdue. If you want a team potentially to go winless.
You think this is the team that runs the table backwards?
Dude.
Okay.
So their winnable games are obviously Hawaii, Indiana, Minnesota at Rutgers, at Washington, and Fresno State. I don't give them I don't favor them in any of those games.
No.
Except Hawaii. I'll favor them in Hawaii. And maybe it's to be seen if Fresno works out with the late interim situation.
Right.
But I believe in Fresno. I believe this is going to be a really good Mountain West team.
Yeah, me too. And plus you get them at the end of the season after USC with Fresno. Man.
I think UCLA has the very easily potential, at least to go winless in conference.
I think they're a 2-10, 11-1 type team.
Yeah, I kind of have the same thing. I had them 2-10. I bet the under. It's minus 135 is the issue. It's under 5. Can't recommend it to people.
Under 5.5 is juiced to negative minus 210.
Yeah, I saw that in a couple books too. And I'll tell you this. as much as I'm betting every team. I found the numbers. I didn't bet a single win total above minus 200, Chase. So small victories. Small victories there.
Yeah.
Up next, it is the USC Trojans plus 2,000, 20-1 to win the Big Ten with a win total set at 7.5, minus 105 on the over, minus 115 on the under. They replace Alex Grinch at defense, Chase. That's the big story. Aside from, yes, they lose Caleb Williams. Yes. But you know what? I'm going to trust Lincoln Riley to put out a good offense. They need to do a little bit better on the offensive line. That was an issue last year, which I don't remember Lincoln Riley ever having issues at offensive line in Oklahoma. So I don't know what's up with that.
And the thing is, they had a quarterback to overcome any sort of offensive line issues that they may have. I'm not sure if they've got a quarterback who can overcome offensive line issues if they have them again. I know for a fact that they're not going to put a good defense out because Lincoln Riley only recruits one side of the ball.
The issue is, theoretically, I went through their recruiters and whatnot. They are getting theoretically good defensive players. And just nothing. They get nothing out of them.
Yeah.
So I think it's just a Lincoln Riley thing at this point. We'll see. I think this is the put up or shut up year. I don't think they need to have a compete or win the Big Ten situation, but they need to show something on defense. The USC defense last year was the Iowa offense. Just less people talk about it.
I think if they don't win 8 games this year, then Lincoln Riley might be on the hot seat.
I think next year he would be. So if we look, I'm trying to see what their rankings were. What was it? Red zone. They're just bad. They're just not good. Defensive stats. They were ranked, hey, Chase, in points per game. 123rd last year.
That's rough. That's pretty rough.
Yeah. So they start the season off in Vegas against LSU. Dude, that's going to be such a fun game to watch.
I think LSU's defense shines through, though, and they get the dub pretty easily.
I think it's going to be a really close game. I'm going to give it to LSU. LSU's defense wasn't very good last year either, though, and I don't know how much it improves.
I don't know. I think they've got the studs. I think they've got the people to improve around. We'll see.
Then it's Utah State. I'll
give them a win there, 1-1.
And then off the bye, it's at Michigan, Wisconsin, at Minnesota, Penn State, at Maryland, Rutgers, at Washington. Give them 4.
I'll give them 4 also, with Maryland, Rutgers, Washington, and either Wisconsin or Minnesota.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm sitting too. And then it's Nebraska at home, at UCLA, Notre Dame. I'd probably say 2-1 there.
I'm going to say 1-2. I think this is a 7-5 football team.
4, 5, 6. I have 7-5 as well.
Under 7.5. Under 7.5 is minus 125. It's another one I can't play. I might have my least number of plays in this.
The Big Ten's a really weird conference.
Yeah.
I went with the over 7.5. I think they could get someone like a Nebraska. They could get a UCLA. Notre Dame's always a weird game. And I'm not going to take it the offense will keep them in games that they don't deserve to be in. That's what I believe.
Yeah. I don't know. It's just, they're such a shootout team going to such a not shootout conference. You know what I mean?
Oh, that's true. They could fall apart early.
Yeah.
I think USC, they either go 10-2 or miss a bowl. I think it works and the defense is fine and the offense clicks, or it all kind of like falls apart, and maybe either they barely make a bowl game or just barely miss it.
I mean, it's the same thing as Oregon. You've got two shootout teams from the West Coast going into just a not shootout conference.
I very much trust Oregon's like big uglies up front and their defense way more though.
No, it's fair. I completely and definitely agree with on defense. Like there's absolutely no defense to speak of at USC, but it's just going to be interesting to see how those two philosophies fit into the Big Ten, because it's very much not like the Big Ten.
Very much. Up next, Chase, it's the Washington Huskies plus 8,000, 80-1 to win the Big Ten. A win total at 6.5, minus 105 on the over, minus 115 on the under. You want to know what they're replacing on offense? Everybody.
Everything. Absolutely everything.
And I think Jeb Fish is a good coach. I think Washington will be fine in the long term. Long term being as long as he stays there, which who knows how long it is with Jeb Fish. And I think the defense will be all right. You have to replace everything on offense. Everything. This is worse than when TCU made the national championship a couple years ago.
This is tough, man. This is real tough. Because I think you'll have schools like Washington State who's going to be licking their chops to kick the crap out of them, especially with all the bowl, the conference implications and everything. You have to play Michigan, you have to play Iowa, you have to play Penn State, you have to play USC, you have to play Oregon.
The only one that misses is Ohio State, yeah.
Only one they miss is Ohio State, and yeah, they're lucky for that. But they do have pretty much a murderer's row of either the toughest teams or the toughest teams that emotionally want to beat the ever-loving bejesus out of them.
And it's not just that. The only quote-unquote kind of gimme they get in conference is Northwestern. Like, UCLA we don't think is going to be very good. So it's UCLA and Northwestern. But, like, they don't get to play Purdue. They don't get to play, like, Maryland late in the season. It's tough. This is a tough schedule. Breaking it down, it's Weber State, Eastern Michigan, and then it's Washington State at the Apple Cup in Lumen Field, Northwestern at Rutgers, Michigan at Iowa.
I will give them 2 wins in that stretch.
I'm going to be really nice. Here, guys. I'm going to give you 3 wins. Really nice there. And then off the bye, it's at Indiana, USC, at Penn State, UCLA. I'll give them 1.
I'm going to be nice and give them 2 there.
And then it's Oregon.
4-8.
Also 4-8. I'm under 6.5 here. What are we doing?
Yeah, under 6.5 is juiced.
Yeah.
USC. Oh God. There's
not
a lot.
5. Give me an under 5 and I'd take that.
Right. There's not a lot to really like with the Big Ten with these.
Dude, the win totals for Big Ten, I feel like every year, I feel like the Big Ten and SEC, it's just bleh.
They got a pretty good idea of who all these teams are going to be. Like, you have to catch someone who's going to surprise to be able to hit them with the big numbers, and I don't think that there's really any big surprises here.
I feel like the Big Ten, more than almost any other conference, including the SEC, has like its hierarchy established pretty well pat.
Are we just not dreaming big enough, Jim?
Iowa to make the playoffs is pretty fucking big. And I think sprinkling on Iowa to win the Big Ten is pretty big. Also, I bet Rutgers to get 9 wins.
That's fair.
Come on.
Maybe we're dreaming the adequate amount there. I'm just saying.
You know what?
Like, it's a different year for college football, and if there ever was a year to dream big for some of these teams, this would be it. I think.
Do you
want
some
new quirks that we?
Do you want to dream a dream with me, Chase?
I do.
Let me get it pulled up. We will dream a dream together. Get the football. Get this stuff out. Give me NCAA futures right now. Pull it up. Come on. I'm pulling it up right now. To reach the playoffs. I'm going to do it. I don't care. You can't tell me not. Rutgers at plus 3,000 to make the playoffs.
Come with me, and you'll be in a land of pure imagination.
It's done. Rutgers
I
to
like
make
it.
the playoffs.
I don't really like it, but I like it.
I like it, damn it. I'm dreaming a dream. Last team, Chase. It's the Wisconsin Badgers. Plus 6,500 to win the Big Ten. A win total set at a solid 7. Plus 120 on the over. Minus 140 on the under. Question for Wisconsin is basically the same one I had last year. Will Phil Longo's system work in Wisconsin? The defense, again, will be it'll be good. The defense will be good.
The defense will be good. We'll see. I mean, last year we saw glimpses of it where they were able to run the ball where they needed to run the ball, which, made the Wisconsin fans happy. I don't know what to think of this team. This is the team that, I been giving a lot of L's to, but I think could easily be flipped and be wins. Just because when's the last time Wisconsin really had a bad season, bad season?
I think
and the way that I've been looking at it, if I look at all the win totals that I've done, they'd be having a really bad season. And I don't think that Finkel is that bad of a coach, or not Finkel, Fickle.
Yeah, I think
Finkel is the kicker from,
I think 22 was their worst season in recent memory. They went 7-6.
And usually they were you penciled them in for the fucking Rose Bowl,
Yeah.
As someone else goes and plays in the national championship game.
They're not. I will say this: they're not that level of Wisconsin. They haven't been in a while. It's been like Northwestern and Iowa trading places for who wins the West.
That's true.
So
it's tough.
The issue with Wisconsin I have is, do you know who their quarterback is, Chase? Do you remember old Tyler Van Dyke from Miami, baby?
Oh, is it Tyler Van Dyke? They had
Tyler Van Dyke.
Who did they have last year? Was it Tanner Mordecai? No.
Yeah, it was Tanner Mordecai from SMU.
That's right.
Well, they bring in Tyler Van Dyke. Buckshot Kid says, my dream is for Nebraska, Penn State, and Oregon losing one game all to Ohio State. My dream is for Nebraska to go undefeated, so.
Yeah.
We could dream. Let's go to the Wisconsin schedule. Western Michigan, South Dakota, Alabama.
2-1.
2-1. I do think the Alabama game will be very telling. We're going to know both who Wisconsin and Alabama are on September 14th.
Agreed. Completely agree.
In between the buys, it is at USC, Purdue, at Rutgers, at Northwestern, Penn State, at Iowa. I'm going to try and be nice and give them 3.
I'll give them a win. Purdue. I'll give them a win at Northwestern. We already said that Rutgers that's Rutgers at home.
I said USC was a maybe.
So Purdue, Northwestern, USC.
That's what I'm saying.
I'll agree with you there.
And then Oregon at Nebraska, Minnesota. Give them 1 there.
I'm going to say 0-3 there.
I give them the win at Nebraska. They just, for some reason, since joining the Big Ten, I believe Nebraska has beaten Wisconsin 1 time.
So I've got them as a 5-7 team, which means I've got an under I can play here, under 6.5.
I got them 6-6. The win total is still 7. I am on the under. And I think maybe Phil Longo might be let go.
Yeah, I don't think they get rid of Fickle, but I think they get rid of a coordinator. He might be forced to make a coordinator move.
He probably does. My worry for teams like Wisconsin and Nebraska, whose defense was ranked very high last year, when you look at it, they did not face very many strong quarterbacks. Was the thing.
Yeah.
But I believe in the defense for both these teams. It's whether or not the offense can kind of kick it into gear. If we get prime, what was it, freshman or sophomore year, first half of the season, Tyler Van Dyke for the entire season, this team's actually really dangerous.
Then it's a pretty good team. Yeah.
Then we're talking 8-9 wins. But we're out on Tyler Van Dyke now, right? He's left the station.
Pretty much. Yeah, we're done there.
Chase, what is your favorite bet from the Big Ten?
My favorite bet is I'm going to say Iowa on the conference future. Can I have two favorite bets?
You can have as many favorite bets as you want.
All right, I'm gonna give you my favorite bets here. We're gonna go Illinois over 5.5 plus 120. We're gonna go Indiana under 5.5 plus 120. Iowa to win the Big Ten, 2,000. Iowa to make the playoff plus 650. Maryland over 6.5 wins plus 125, and Wisconsin under 6.5 wins plus 105.
Juicy. My favorite bets are Michigan over 9 at plus 115, Penn State over 10.5 at plus 140, and then Iowa to make the playoffs plus 650. Once again, Erik was on the Michigan under and Penn State to win the Big Ten at plus 500. I'll also join Chase in sprinkling a little bit on that Iowa plus 3,500 to win the Big Ten. Don't hate that at all. It's so like the Big Ten and SEC are like the most top heavy freaking conferences on the planet.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's that, and I just mean there's not a lot of there. I feel like there's a little bit of mystery to a lot of these teams that we've talked about throughout the year until tonight. It just stopped tonight. Like there's not many teams where we're just like, hey, I have no idea. This team could be 9 wins or this team could be 1 win.
Oh, also just found this bet, Chase. Iowa plus 1,000 to make the Big Ten championship.
Ooh, I like that too.
Yeah. Give me that. All right, folks. That has been our Big Ten preview for the college football tailgate. One more preview left to go. It is the Southeastern Conference, Chase's conference. It's going to be a fun one. This was the biggest conference, though. So stay tuned. SEC coming this Wednesday. Tune in, everybody. We'll see you then. For now, give me a follow at XFL Jim. Give Uncle Rico, Erik a follow at eTop21 Sports everywhere. Give Chase a follow at Of Oaklawn. He's a busy man, sports facts. Erik's a busy man. But we'll love you guys, and we'll see you next time for another episode of the College Football Tailgate. Bye-bye.